the rain-slicked steps of St. Mary's Catholic Church in small-town Ohio gleamed like black marble under the gray November sky, and as the organ swelled with a mournful hymn, Nicholas Hale pushed open the heavy oak doors, alive, breathing, and clutching a crumpled obituary that bore his own name. "He's gone," his mother's voice cracked from the front pew, her words slicing through the incense-heavy air like a eulogy for the son she'd buried in her heart 2 years ago, while the priest intoned, "Nicholas, our beloved boy, taken too soon by the cruel hand of fate." But fate had a twisted sense of humor, and as heads turned in stunned silence, Nicholas stepped forward, his boots echoing like thunderclaps, whispering hoarsely to the ghost of his family, "Surprise! I'm the punchline you never saw coming." Nicholas's heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped animal as he strode down the aisle, the faded newsprint obituary fluttering in his fist like a white flag of surrender, or maybe a Molotov cocktail, depending on how you looked at it. The church, with its vaulted ceilings and stained glass saints staring down in judgmental hues of crimson and sapphire, had been his childhood sanctuary, the place where he'd knelt as a wide-eyed kid, whispering prayers for a father who worked double shifts at the auto plant and a mother who baked apple pies that won blue ribbons at the county fair. Now, felt like a tomb, packed with aunts, uncles, cousins, and neighbors who'd shown up not just for the free ham sandwiches in the hall afterward, but to mourn the tragic accident that had supposedly claimed him after he fled to the big city, chasing shadows of acceptance in New York's unforgiving embrace. His sister Emily spotted him first, her gasp a sharp intake that rippled through the pews like a stone skipped across a frozen pond. She was perched in the second row, her blonde bob impeccable as always, clutching a tissue to her perfectly glossed lips. "Nick," the word escaped her like a curse, her blue eyes mirror images of their mothers, widening in horror. The priest faltered mid-sentence, his Bible slipping an inch in his veined hands, and the organist hit a sour note that hung in the air like a bad omen. Their mother, Clara Hale, turned slowly, her face a porcelain mask of grief cracked by the impossible. At 55, she looked a decade older, the lines around her eyes etched deeper by sleepless nights and whispered rosaries for a son she'd declared dead to save face in this Bible belt buckle of a town. "Lord have mercy," she murmured, crossing herself as if Nicholas were a demon risen from hell rather than flesh and blood. His father, Tom, sat stone-still beside her, his calloused mechanic's hands clenched into fists on his knees, the man who'd once taught him to throw a curveball now radiating the cold fury of betrayal. Nicholas stopped at the altar, where a mahogany casket stood empty, no body, of course, because who'd bury a lie? The photo propped on an easel showed him at 25, grinning boyishly in a high school baseball cap, arms slung around Emily at her graduation. Innocent. Straight. The version of him they'd clung to like a life raft. He unfolded the obituary with deliberate slowness, holding it aloft like Exhibit A in a trial he hadn't asked for. Page 7 of the Milford Gazette, dated June 15, 2023. He read aloud, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. Nicholas James Hale, 26, of Milford, Ohio, passed away unexpectedly in New York City. Beloved son of Thomas and Clara Hale, devoted brother to Emily. A private service will be held. You wrote me off as roadkill to keep the neighbors from gossiping about the faggot who broke your hearts. Gasps erupted like popcorn in a microwave, old Mrs. Delaney from down the street clutched her pearls. Uncle Ray muttered something about the devil's work, and Emily bolted upright, her heels clicking as she rushed toward him. This isn't the time. Nick, you can't just, God. Where have you been? We thought you were. She trailed off, tears smearing her mascara into black rivulets. Dead. Nicholas finished for her, his laugh bitter as black coffee. Yeah, well, that's what happens when your family decides a coming-out letter is the same as a suicide note. I got the call from cousin Mark last week. Hey, they're throwing you a pity party. You going? So here I am. Proof positive that queers like me don't vanish that easy. The congregation shifted uneasily, a sea of floral dresses and pressed suits whispering furiously. Clara rose then, her floral print dress whispering against the pew as she approached, her Bible tucked under one arm like a shield. Up close, Nicholas could see the toll. The gray streaks in her once vibrant auburn hair, the way her hands trembled not from cold but from the seismic shift of reality crashing in. Nicholas, she said, her voice a fragile thread. Why now, after all this time? Why come back and rip open wounds we tried to heal? He wanted to scream, to shake her until the denial shattered like cheap glass. Instead, he softened, just a fraction, remembering the lullabies she'd sung, the way she'd bandage his scraped knees with kisses. Because healing on a lie is just gangrene, Mom. And I couldn't let you bury me without fighting for the scraps of us that might still be worth saving. Tom finally stirred, lumbering to his feet with the ponderous grace of a man who'd carried engine blocks for 30 years. His face was thundercloud dark, eyes narrowed to slits. Boy, you got some nerve. We did what we had to. This town. It eats folks like you alive. Better dead in their eyes than shamed. He jabbed a thick finger at the doors. Get out. Before you drag us all to hell with you. The words landed like punches, each one echoing the night Nicholas had packed his duffel in the dim glow of his bedroom lamp, the rainbow post-it from his first crush crumpled in the trash. He'd been 24, fresh out of community college with a graphic design degree and a boyfriend named Jake who'd bailed when the family drama hit fever pitch. I love you, but I can't be your martyr, Jake had said, and Nicholas had nodded, numb, as he boarded the Greyhound to Manhattan, the Ohio cornfields blurring into a green smear of regret. But New York had been a brutal baptism. Sublets in Bushwick that smelled like weed and despair, freelance gigs designing logos for queer bars that paid in exposure and expired ramen. He'd slept on couches, dodged catcalls in the subway, and learned to armor his heart with sarcasm and late-night hookups that left him emptier than before. Until Alex Rivera, with his easy grin and tattooed forearms that told stories of Puerto Rican roots and Brooklyn grit. They'd met at a poetry slam in the village, Nicholas nursing a cheap beer, sketching strangers on a napkin, Alex on stage, spitting verses about lost fathers and found families that hit like lightning. You're drawing me, Alex had said afterward, sliding onto the stool beside him, close enough that Nicholas could smell his cologne, something spicy and unapologetic. Make me look dangerous. What started as flirtation bloomed into something real, raw, a love that stitched up the holes the Midwest had torn in him. Alex, 30, a barista by day and aspiring screenwriter by night, had his own scars, a Catholic upbringing that mirrored Nicholas's, a brother who'd come out and been welcomed with open arms, making Alex's silence feel like treason. I see you, Alex would whisper in the dark of their tiny Astoria apartment, fingers tracing the freckles across Nicholas's chest. All of you. And it's beautiful. It was Alex who'd pushed him to return. You can't outrun ghosts forever, babe. Go haunt them back. And so, with a one-way ticket and a belly full of nerves, Nicholas had come home, not to beg forgiveness, but to demand truth. Now, as the church doors creaked under the weight of stairs, Emily grabbed his arm, her nails digging in like anchors. "Please, Nick. Not here. Come to the house after. We need to talk." He glanced at his parents, Clara's eyes pleading, Tom's jaw set like concrete, and nodded once, sharp. "Fine. But no more lies. This is the funeral for the old US. Time to resurrect what's left." As he turned to leave, the rain outside picked up, drumming against the roof like applause for a villain's exit. Nicholas stepped into the storm, obituary dissolving in his pocket like ash, wondering if redemption tasted as sweet as it stung. The drive to the Hale family home on Elm Street was a funeral procession in reverse. Emily's minivan crawling behind his rented Chevy, wipers slapping rhythmically against the downpour. Milford hadn't changed. Same faded banners for the high school football team, same rusted pickup trucks in driveways, same evangelical billboards preaching fire and brimstone. Nicholas gripped the wheel, knuckles white, replaying the church scene like a bad loop in his head. Part of him thrilled at the chaos he'd unleashed. The rest curled into a ball, whispering what if they slammed the door. The house loomed at the end of the block, a two-story colonial with peeling white paint and a porch swing where he'd confessed his first crush to Emily over root beer floats. She pulled up beside him, and they walked in silence to the door, the air thick with unsaid apologies. Inside, the living room smelled of lemon polish and mothballs, family photos lining the mantel like sentinels. Baby Nicholas in a sailor suit, teen Nicholas at prom with a girl whose name he couldn't recall, the empty space where his after should have been. Clara bustled in the kitchen, clattering plates louder than necessary, while Tom sank into his lazy boy, cracking open a Coors Light with mechanical precision. Emily hovered, wringing her hands. "Coffee? Or whiskey? Dad's got a stash." Nicholas shook his head, dropping onto the floral couch that sagged under his weight. "Just the truth." "Why the obituary? Why not just disown me quietly?" Clara emerged with a tray of uneven mugs, her smile brittle as Rice Krispies. "It was for protection, Nicky." The church ladies. They were talking. "After your letter, saying you'd gone to that city and changed. We couldn't bear the shame. So we said you died in a car wreck." "Clean break. Clean." Nicholas's voice rose, cracking on the edge. "You erased me. Mailed invitations to my own goddamn memorial. What if I'd actually offed myself? Would that have been tidy enough?" Tom grunted, not looking up from his beer. "Don't put words in mouths, son. We prayed for you every night. Still do. Prayed for the straight version." "You mean?" The words hung heavy, and Emily flinched, sinking beside him. "It's not that simple, Nick. Mom's got MS now, diagnosed last year. The stress. It hit her hard after you left. And Dad's plant laid off half the line. We're barely scraping by. Your death, let us grieve and move on. Or try to." Nicholas's anger deflated like a punctured tire, replaced by a hollow ache. He studied his mother, noting the subtle drag in her step, the way she gripped the tray for balance. "Why didn't you call? I sent postcards. Money, even anonymously to the church fund." Clara's eyes glistened. "We burned them. Thought they were from strangers pitying us. The confession landed like a slap, and Nicholas stood abruptly, pacing to the window where rain blurred the neighbor's picket fence. Outside, life ticked on. Kids splashing in puddles, a dog barking at nothing. Inside, time fractured. That's when the doorbell rang, sharp as a gunshot. Emily answered, and there stood Alex, tall, drenched, his dark curls plastered to his forehead, duffel slung over one shoulder. "Hey," he said simply, pulling Nicholas into a hug that smelled of airport coffee and unwavering loyalty. "Figured you'd need backup." The family froze. Clara's mug slipped, shattering on the linoleum. Tom's beer foamed over. Emily's mouth formed a perfect O. Nicholas pulled back, heat flooding his cheeks. "You followed me? After I said go home?" Alex shrugged, water dripping from his jacket. "Planes go both ways, amor. Besides, funerals are better with two queers crashing the party." In that moment, amid the shards of ceramic and stunned silence, Nicholas felt the first crack in the wall, a glimpse of the family he might rebuild, piece by jagged piece. But as Tom's face darkened to storm cloud fury, he knew the Real burial rites were just beginning. Alex's arrival was like tossing a lit match into a powder keg. The living room ignited with a tension so thick you could chew it, tasting of stale regrets and unspoken slurs. Tom slammed his beer down, foam sloshing over the side table, his voice booming like a V8 engine revving to life. "Who the hell is this? Some city slicker you picked up off the street?" His eyes raked over Alex, taking in the faded Yankees tee clinging to his lean frame, the silver hoop in his ear glinting like a dare. Nicholas stepped between them instinctively, his hand finding Alex's, fingers interlacing in a grip that said mine louder than words. "This is Alex. My partner. The man who's kept me from becoming the ghost you tried to make me." Clara busied herself sweeping up the mug shards, her back ramrod straight, but Emily, ever the peacemaker, extended a tentative hand. "Hi. I'm Emily. Nick's, well, sister. Want some dry clothes? Dad's got old flannels in the basement." Alex flashed that disarming smile, the one that had melted Nicholas on their third date over street tacos in Queens. "Appreciate it. Rain's biblical out there." He shook her hand gently, then nodded at Clara. "Smells amazing in here, ma'am." "Apple pie." She paused, broom mid-sweep, a flicker of something, pride, nostalgia, crossing her face. "Made it fresh. For the gathering." Her voice wobbled, and she busied herself again, but not before murmuring, "There's extra." Tom wasn't buying the charm offensive. He rose, towering over them both, his belly straining against a Ford Motors Polo faded from too many washes. "Partner," he spat, the word twisting like lemon on a cut. "That's what you call it? Parading this sin in my house after we buried you? Get out." "Both of ya, Dad," Emily protested, but Nicholas held up a hand, his pulse thundering in his ears. "No, let him. This is why I left. Pops. Your God's bigger on hate than love, apparently. But newsflash, I'm still your blood. Gay or not, alive or accidentally deceased, that doesn't wash off." Alex squeezed his hand, a silent "I've got you," and for a second, Nicholas glimpsed the future they'd sketched in lazy Sundays, adopting a rescue mutt, arguing over takeout, maybe even a commitment ceremony under Brooklyn's bridges. But here, in the heartland's chokehold, felt like a pipe dream. Clara set the broom aside, her hands wringing the dish towel like a lifeline. Thomas, enough. He's home. That's a miracle, ain't it? She turned to Nicholas, eyes searching his face as if memorizing the man he'd become. The sharper cheekbones from skipped meals, the quiet strength in his stance. Sit. Eat. We talk like Christians, not barbarians. They migrated to the kitchen table, scarred oak that had hosted Thanksgiving turkeys and homework meltdowns. Clara sliced pie with surgical precision, the cinnamon steam curling like incense, while Emily poured coffee strong enough to strip paint. Alex draped the oversized flannel over his chairback, rolling up his sleeves to reveal the intricate sleeve tattoo, a phoenix rising from rosary beads, inked after his own coming-out war. As forks scraped plates, the silence stretched, punctuated by the tick of the wall clock. Finally, Tom grunted. So, what? You come back to rub our noses in it? Show off your lifestyle? Nicholas swallowed a bite that tasted like cardboard. No. I came back because Mark called. Said you were honoring my memory with a collection for suicide prevention. Ironic, huh? The queer kid funding his own ghost story. Emily winced. It was Mom's idea. After the scandals, Father O'Malley caught with the altar boy, the whole diocese shaking. She wanted to turn pain into purpose. Clara nodded, her fork trembling. You were always sensitive, Nikki. Drawing those pictures, crying over Bambi. When you wrote that letter, it broke me. But I saw the news, those marches in the city, the diseases. I thought you'd be safer gone. Safe, Alex interjected softly, his accent thickening with emotion, Nuyorican edges honed in the Bronx. Ma'am, love like ours is the safest harbor I've known. Nick's the one who taught me that. Tom's scoff was a chainsaw in the quiet. Harbor. Pretty words for sodomy. The room iced over, and Nicholas shoved back his chair, the legs screeching like banshees. Sodomy? Jesus. Dad, it's 2025, not the dark ages. I've got a job, freelance design for indie films. An apartment. A life. Without you, yeah, but better than pretending. He stormed out to the porch, the screen door slamming like a period on the sentence. The rain had eased to a drizzle, misting the air with that earthy post-storm scent. Nicholas leaned on the railing, staring at the fireflies winking in the backyard like distant stars. Footsteps creaked behind him. Alex, solid and warm, wrapping arms around his waist from behind. You okay? Me Vita, Alex murmured into his neck, chin resting on his shoulder. Nicholas leaned back, letting the contact ground him. Hate feeling like a kid again. Small. Wrong. You're not. You're a fucking warrior. Alex turned him gently, cupping his face. Their kiss was slow, reaffirming, lips brushing with the tenderness of shared sunrises, tongues tasting the faint sweetness of pie. It was a reminder. This was real, not the relic of a family clinging to crucifixes. Inside, voices rose. Tom's bellow, Clara's pleas, Emily's mediation. Then, quieter, a rustle. Emily appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. Mom wants you back in. But Dad's got something to say. Don't hate me for dragging you. Nicholas sighed, steeling himself. Lead the way, sis. Back at the table, Tom had cracked another beer, but his posture had shifted, shoulders slumped, like a balloon deflating. Clara sat beside him, her hand on his knee, a united front fraying at the edges. Sit, Tom said gruffly. No eye contact. I ain't good at this. But your ma's right. Miracle or not, you're here. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. Just a crack in the armor. Nicholas sat, Alex beside him like a sentinel. What now? Then, we can't undo the obituary, but maybe we start with coffee sometime. Without the pitchforks. Emily brightened. I'd like that. And hey, Alex, tell me about your screenplays. Nick says you're gonna be the next Scorsese, but gayer. Laughter bubbled, tentative as a first raindrop, and for an hour, they talked haltingly, awkwardly. Stories of Emily's two kids, the boy who loved dinosaurs and asked endless questions, Clara's quilting circle, where she'd stitched a rainbow square in secret, Tom's garage tinkering, rebuilding a '67 Mustang that roared like his temper. But as night fell, shadows lengthened, and doubts crept in. When Tom retreated to the den with the TV's blue glow, Clara pulled Nicholas aside in the hallway, her whisper urgent. There's something you should know. About why we pushed so hard. Her eyes darted to the family Bible on the shelf, thick with gilded edges. Your grandmother, my ma, she lost a brother to the war, but rumors said it was like you. They hushed it, called him a hero. I couldn't bear history repeating. Nicholas's throat tightened. So you buried me alive to bury the past? She nodded, tears spilling. Forgive an old fool? Not yet, he said honestly. But I'm trying. Outside, under a clearing sky, Alex waited by the car. Crash landing or smooth skies? Nicholas smirked, bumping shoulders. Turbulence. But we're not down yet. As they drove to the motel on the edge of town, neon sign flickering vacancy, like a bad joke, Nicholas's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw you at church. We need to talk. Jake. His ex. The ghost who'd started it all. Heart sinking, Nicholas deleted it. But ghosts had a way of resurrecting, and Milford's secrets were just uncoiling. The next morning dawned crisp, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones as Nicholas and Alex wandered Main Street, the town's pulse slow and suspicious. Folks nodded warily, old teachers, the barber who'd given him his first buzz cut, whispers trailing like smoke. That's the Hale boy. Back from the grave, they say. They ducked into Millie's diner, a chrome relic with vinyl booths and coffee that could wake the dead. Alex ordered huevos rancheros with a wink at the waitress, while Nicholas stuck to pancakes, drowning them in syrup to sweeten the sour in his gut. Think your folks'll thaw? Alex asked, stealing a bite. Maybe. Emily's coming over later, bringing the kids. Neutral ground. Alex's eyes lit. T.O. Nick has a ring, but the bell above the door jingled ominously, and in walked Jake Harlan, tall, blonde, still carrying that quarterback swagger, married now to a sweet accountant named Sarah, or so Facebook lied. Nick, he said, sliding into the booth uninvited, his smile all teeth and no warmth. Heard you rose like Lazarus. Town's buzzing. Nicholas's fork paused mid-air. Jake. Didn't expect the welcome wagon. Alex tensed beside him, but played it cool, extending a hand. Alex. The current model. Jake chuckled, but his eyes were sharks. Lucky guy. Look, I didn't come to chat. Your dad's been venting at the VFW. Said some things about you and that friend from the city. Folks are talking reparative therapy. Church is funding a retreat. The words chilled Nicholas to the marrow. Reparative therapy, electric shocks and prayers, the quack cure-all that had fried better men. Dad wouldn't, would, and might. He's hurting, man. Thinks he failed you. Alex's jaw clenched. Hurting? Try terrified. Of losing control. Jake leaned in, voice low. Or losing face. Watch your back, Nick. Milford chews up rainbows. He left a 20 on the table and sauntered out, leaving a wake of dread. Nicholas pushed away his plate, appetite gone. This was a mistake. Alex covered his hand. No. It's a battle. And we've got ammo. But as they walked back, Emily's SUV pulled up, kids in tow, little Mia with pigtails, and Ben, gap-toothed and curious. Uncle Nick, Ben yelled, launching into his arms. For a moment, the world righted, hugs sticky with juice box residue. Mia's shy wave. Emily smiled. Park picnic? Neutral as it gets. They spread a blanket by the river, where willows dipped lazy branches into the current. The kids chased ducks, their laughter a bomb, while Emily unpacked PB and JS. Dad's sorry, in his way. Last night, he fixed the porch light. Said it was for when you visit. Nicholas's chest loosened. Progress. Alex engaged Ben in a rock-skipping contest, his laughter booming, and Mia braided daisies into Nicholas's hair, crowning him Flower King. It was domestic, almost normal, a glimpse of family untainted. But then his phone rang. Clara, voice quavering. Nicky, come quick. Your father's had a spell at the garage. Heart scare. The picnic shattered. They raced to the ER, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. Tom lay pale in a bed, hooked to monitors beeping steady but weak. Clara clutched his hand, eyes red-rimmed. Heard the rumors, Tom rasped when Nicholas approached. From Jake. Told him to shove it. Ain't sending you nowhere. The confession hung, raw and real. Nicholas gripped the bed rail. Scared me, old man. Tom's grip tightened on Clara's hand. Scared me more. Seeing you yesterday. Like losing you twice. Tears pricked Nicholas's eyes. Not losing me. Just meeting me. In the waiting room, Alex pulled him close. See? Cracks widening. But Jake's warning echoed, and as night cloaked the hospital, Nicholas wondered if the real storm was brewing, not from family, but from the town's venomous underbelly. The hospital room hummed with the sterile symphony of beeps and whispers, Tom's chest rising and falling in shallow rhythm under the thin blanket, while Clara dozed in the vinyl chair, her head lolling like a wilted flower. Nicholas lingered by the window, staring at the parking lot lights smudging the midnight fog, Alex's arm a steady weight around his shoulders. He's stable, the doc had said, mild arrhythmia, stress-induced, nothing a beta blocker and lifestyle tweak couldn't fix. But Nicholas knew better. The real affliction was years of bottled rage, festering like untreated rust. Emily arrived at dawn, styrofoam cups of vending machine coffee in hand, her face drawn but determined. Kids are with the sitter. Mom needs sleep. I'll take first watch. She hugged Nicholas fiercely, then Alex, a quick squeeze that spoke volumes. Thanks for being his rock. Anytime, Alex replied, his voice gravelly from the all-nighter. They stepped into the hallway, the linoleum squeaking under their sneakers, and Emily lowered her voice. Jake stopped by the house last night. Said he just wanted to check in. But Mom thinks he's stirring shit. Telling folks at the plant you're recruiting, or some nonsense. Nicholas's stomach nodded. Jake had always been the golden boy, prom king, church deacon now, with a wife and a mortgage masking whatever envy still simmered from their high school fling. That summer before college, under the bleachers with stolen beers and fumbling hands, Jake had been all fire and whispers. This doesn't make us. You know, then, when Nicholas came out fully, Jake had vanished, leaving a voicemail, "Don't drag me down with you." Betrayal's first bitter pill. Figures, Nicholas muttered. He can't stand seeing me whole. Alex's eyes narrowed. Confront him, or let karma handle the hack job? Before Nicholas could answer, his phone vibrated. A text from Mark, their cousin, the one who'd tipped him off about the funeral. Church meeting tonight. Pastors preaching on family purity. Your name's on the prayer list. Heads up. The pieces clicked. Jake, the whispers, Tom's spell. Milford wasn't just resistant. It was mobilizing, a small-town inquisition wrapped in potlucks and piety. We need proof, Nicholas said, mind racing. Not just of me being alive, of them trying to unalive me. Alex grinned, fierce. I've got a script idea brewing. Hidden cam? Or go full scorched earth? Live stream the next family dinner. They opted for subtlety. Nicholas drafted an email to the local paper, attaching the obituary and a timeline of his death. CCING, a queer rights group in Columbus. Alex filmed a quiet vlog on his phone, Nicholas in the motel mirror, shirtless and scarred, recounting the erasure. This is what love looks like when it's conditional. Don't let them bury you before you're dead. By afternoon, they were back at the house, Clara insisting on lasagna. Real food, not hospital slop. Tom was discharged, propped on pillows in the den, grumbling at a Tigers game on mute. The mood was fragile, a soap bubble iridescent with hope. Emily's kids tumbled in, turning the coffee table into a fort of cushions, Mia declaring Alex the best builder ever as he engineered a drawbridge from chopsticks. Dinner unfolded like a truce. Clara's lasagna bubbling cheesy and hearty, garlic bread golden as sin. Tom even cracked a joke. City boys got an appetite. Must be all that concrete jungle. And Alex volleyed back, nah, it's the chef. This rivals my abuela's. Laughter rippled, genuine this time, and Nicholas caught Clara's eye across the table. Her nod, small but profound, were trying. After the kids crashed on the couch, stomachs full, the adults lingered over wine, Clara's homemade dandelion, tart as memories. Tom cleared his throat, the sound like gravel in a tumbler. Saw the doc. Gotta cut the smokes, watch the salt, and maybe see a counselor. For the family, the admission stunned them silent. Clara reached for his hand. We all go. Together, Nicholas's throat burned. I'd like that, but the bubble burst with a knock at the door. insistent, authoritative. Clara answered, and there stood Pastor Ellis, silver-haired and stern in his clerical collar, flanked by 2 deacons and, lo and behold, Jake, holding a casserole dish like a peace-offering Trojan horse. Mrs. Hale, the pastor boomed, we heard about Thomas. Brought comfort food and prayers. Clara ushered them in, politeness a reflex, but tension coiled like a spring. The den shrank under their presence, the air thickening with Bible verses and veiled barbs. Pastor Ellis clasped Tom's hand. The Lord's testing you, brother. But remember Proverbs, train up a child. His gaze slid to Nicholas and Alex, entwined on the love seat. Though the path stray, redemption's door swings wide. Jake set the dish down, his smile oily. Heard Nicholas is back. Miraculous. We should talk, buddy, man to man. About choices. Alex bristled, but Nicholas stood, calm as a gathering storm. Choices? Like forging my death cert, pastor, or slandering me as a predator to the PDA. The room gasped. Clara's hand to her mouth, Emily's eyes wide. Pastor Ellis blanched, but recovered with a pious tilt. Gossip's the devil's currency, son. We're here for healing. That retreat in Dayton, ex-gays testifying. Lives transformed. Free. Even. Tom shifted. Uncomfortable. Appreciate the visit, Reverend. But we're handling family in-house. Jake's facade cracked. Eyes flashing. Handling? By parading this. He gestured at Alex, voice rising. You were normal once, Nick. Before the city poisoned you. The dam broke. Nicholas lunged, fists clenched, but Alex hauled him back, whispering, not worth the cuffs. Instead, Nicholas snatched his phone, hitting record. Say that again for the feed, Jake. Poisoned. Real Christian of you, the deacons murmured, Pastor Ellis sputtering about decorum. But Clara of all people, drew herself up, voice steel. Out. All of you. This is our house, our son. Take your casserole and your judgments to Hell's Kitchen. They filed out, tails tucked, Jake shooting a venomous glare over his shoulder. The door clicked shut, and silence reigned. Then Emily whooped, hugging her mother. Go, Mom! Clara sagged against the counter, trembling. I can't lose him again. Tom rose, wrapping her in bare arms. You won't. Not on my watch. That night, in the guest room's lumpy bed, Nicholas and Alex tangled under quilts that smelled of lavender and lavender lies. High drama, Alex murmured, tracing Nicholas's collarbone. But you slayed. Nicholas kissed him deeply, bodies aligning in the familiar dance, slow grinds, gasps muffled in pillows, release a shuddering affirmation. Afterward, slick and spent, Nicholas whispered, what if they never fully get it? Then we build our own altar, Alex replied, fierce. You, me, the kids maybe. A family of misfits. Morning brought fallout. The local paper's editor emailed, story running tomorrow, with Nicholas's byline. Social media buzzed. A Columbus activist offered legal aid if the church pushed. But Jake wasn't done. At the plant, he cornered Tom during break, words slithering. Your boy's turning this town upside down. Sarah's kids come home asking about uncles with boyfriends. Think of the example. Tom shoved him against the lockers, face inches away. My example? Loving my son, you spineless prick. Touch him again, and you'll need prayers. Word spread like wildfire, fractures deepening. Emily called mid-afternoon. Jake's wife left him. Packed the kids. Said the hypocrisy stank. Town splitting. Half cheering you, half clutching pearls. Nicholas met her at the park. Alex watching from a bench as he pushed Ben on the swings. Feels like war, he admitted. Emily nodded, wind tousling her hair. It is. But you're winning hearts. Even Dad's humming show tunes, blasphemy, but progress. That evening, the real bomb dropped. Clara found an old letter in the attic, Nicholas's original coming out, stained with coffee rings and tucked in a hatbox. But clipped to it, a note from Pastor Ellis to Tom, dated weeks after. Brother Hale, the boy's affliction is curable. Send him to us, we'll pray the demon out. Discretion assured, no scandal for the family name. Betrayal, pure and pious. Clara showed it to Tom, who crumpled it in fury. That snake used us. They confronted the pastor at Vespers, Nicholas and Alex in tow, the nave emptying as truth spilled. You preyed on our pain, Tom growled, voice echoing off stone. My son ain't a project, Pastor Ellis paled. I acted in faith. Faith, Nicholas laughed. Hollow. Yours is a con. And it's over. The fallout cascaded. Resignations, headlines, a town council probe. But in the eye, Nicholas found Alex waiting, always waiting with open arms. Hurricanes passing, Alex said, as they walked home under stars pricking the velvet sky. Yeah, Nicholas breathed. Clearer now, yet dawn brought the cruelest twist. A voicemail from Jake, slurred and desperate. You ruined me, Nick. Everything. Watch your back. I'm coming for what's left. The threat lingered, a shadow on the horizon. As Nicholas realized, some funerals buried the wrong corpse. The voicemail played on loop in Nicholas's mind as he drove the winding backroads out of Milford. Alex shotgun with a thermos of diner hash browns. The radio crooning Springsteen, anthems for blue-collar heartbreak that felt too on the nose. Jake's voice, thick with bourbon and spite, rasped like sandpaper, ruined me. Coming for what's left. It could have been bluster from a man watching his picket fence empire crumble. But Nicholas knew Jake. Knew the quiet rage that simmered under his all-American grin. The kind that festered into something uglier when cornered. They decided to extend the stay a week, holing up at the motel while Clara and Tom attended couples counseling in Columbus. Mandatory, per the doc, to mend the marital fractures Tom's health scare had exposed. Emily shuttled the kids over daily, turning the motel into a makeshift daycare with crayons and cartoons, her laughter a bridge over the chasm. You're good with them, she'd say, watching Alex hoist Ben onto his shoulders for a piggyback rodeo. Ever think about? Nicholas would smile, dodging. One miracle at a time, but miracles had teeth. The paper story hit stands Monday. Local man resurrects after family's faux funeral. With a photo of Nicholas outside the church, rain-streaked and resolute. Protests brewed. Rainbow flags on porches, counter-picket lines with signs reading "Love thy neighbor," not just the straight ones. The church hemorrhaged members. Pastor Ellis tendered resignation, fleeing to a mission in Texas amid whispers of embezzlement from the youth fund. Jake, though, went radio silent, too silent. His house sat dark. Sarah's Volvo gone from the drive. For sale sign stabbed into the lawn like a stake. Nicholas drove by once, heart pounding, but found only echoes. Curtains drawn. Mailbox overflowing with catalogs for fishing gear Jake never used. Ghost town, Alex quipped, but his grip on Nicholas's thigh tightened, a silent vow. Nights blurred into intimacy's refuge. The motel's thin walls muffling their lovemaking, bodies a map of solace. Alex would pin him gently, kisses trailing fire down his spine, whispering, "You're mine, cabron." No one's taking that. Climax came in waves, crashing and receding, leaving them tangled in sheets damp with sweat and salt tears. Tears Nicholas hadn't shed since the Greyhound days. Mornings brought tentative outreach. Tom's texts, gruff but green. "Coffee at Millie's? Bring the spick." Alex laughed it off, replying with a thumbs-up emoji. But Nicholas saw the sting. Over mugs chipped as old grudges, Tom opened up, halting tales of his own youth. A mill buddy who'd vanished after a barroom confession, presumed dead from shame. "Thought I was protecting you from that," Tom admitted, stirring sugar endlessly. "Turns out, I built the cage." Nicholas nodded, the knot in his chest loosening thread by thread. "Break it down, then." "Start with me." Clara joined midweek, her MS cane tapping like a metronome, bringing photo albums yellowed with time. They pored over them on the motel carpet. Nicholas gap-toothed at 5, building sandcastles at Lake Erie. Emily and him at Christmas, matching ugly sweaters. "You were always my light," Clara said, tracing a faded print. "Even when I dimmed it." "Forgiveness isn't a switch," Nicholas replied, voice thick. "But it's flickering on." Alex captured it all on his phone. Not for the vlog, but for them, a private reel of mending. One evening, as the sun dipped bloody over the cornfields, he pitched his screenplay idea over pizza, Resurrection Road, a queer rom-dram about a prodigal son and his city night, battling heartland phantoms. "You star," Alex teased, sauce on his chin. "Emmy bait," Nicholas snorted. "Only if you direct." And we cast Emily as the sassy sis. Laughter flowed easy now, a current pulling them forward. But Jake's shadow loomed. Friday night, after a bonfire at Emily's, marshmallows charred, stories swapped. Nicholas found a note slipped under the motel door. "You think you're free? Check the river. Midnight. Or they pay." Scrawled in Jake's blocky hand, a Polaroid clipped, Alex, asleep in the motel chair, throat exposed like an invitation to violence. Panic surged, hot and metallic. Nicholas shook Alex awake, shoving the note at him. "We call the cops." Alex scanned it, face hardening. "Or we end this." Together, they drove to the river under cover of stars, the Chevy's headlights cutting fog like knives. The spot was secluded, willows arching over the bank, water murmuring secrets to the stones. Jake waited, silhouette against the current, a bottle dangling from one hand, the other clutching a tire iron glinting moonsilver. "Nick," he slurred, stepping forward. "Knew you'd come." "Hero complex. Put it down." "Jake," Nicholas said, voice steady, Alex flanking him like a shield. "This isn't you. Isn't me?" Jake laughed, manic. "You made me this, parading your freak show, turning my wife against me, My kids asking why Daddy's sad. I was normal till you. Alex edged closer. Normal's overrated. Hermano. Try human. Jake swung wild, the iron whistling air, but Alex dodged, tackling him to the mudslick bank. They grappled, grunts and splashes, fists flying in a blur of desperation. Nicholas lunged, pinning Jake's arm, the weapon skittering into the shallows. Enough! You're better than this poison. Jake bucked, eyes wild with tears. Better? I'm nothing now. Church shuns me, town's laughing. All cause of you. Because of fear, Nicholas countered, breath ragged. The same fear that made my family bury me. But you can choose different. Sirens wailed distant. Emily, bless her, had tailed them, dialing 911 on a hunch. Jake sagged, fight draining like the receding tide. What now? Jail? For loving wrong. Alex hauled him up, cuffing his wrists with zip ties from the glove box, backup from the activist kit. Therapy, maybe. Or a new town. But hate, that's the real death sentence. Cops arrived, lights strobing blue and red, cuffing Jake proper. He went quiet, head bowed, as they read rights. Sarah arrived later, eyes hollow, to press charges, not just assault, but the months of gaslighting, the closet he'd forced her into by proxy. In the aftermath, Milford exhaled. Jake's arrest cracked the facade wide. Testimonies poured in, teens he'd cornered with advice, wives whispering of bruises hidden under long sleeves. The church dissolved its purity committee. A new pastor, openly allied with the UCC's affirming wing, took the pulpit. For Nicholas, closure came quietly. A week later, at the river, same spot, sans tire irons, the family gathered. Tom in a collared shirt, Clara on his arm, Emily with the kids tossing pebbles. Alex officiated impromptu, a rebirth ceremony cribbed from his script notes. Vows exchanged not just between lovers, but kin. I see you. Nicholas Hale, Tom rumbled, voice cracking. Gay. Alive. All of it. And I'm proud. Clara pressed a quilt into his hands, stitched with rainbows, hidden panels blooming like secrets unveiled. Wrap yourself warm, son. Winter's here's long, but springs come fierce. Emily hugged him last, whispering, you're stuck with us now. No more funerals. Alex pulled him close under the willows, their kiss sealing it, deep, promising eternities in the everyday, bodega runs, script deadlines, maybe a ring someday, simple as that. As they drove east, Ohio fading in the rearview, Nicholas glanced at Alex, hand on his knee. Home, Alex grinned. Always, amor. Always, the road unspooled, a ribbon of asphalt under endless sky, carrying them toward a horizon where death was just a word, and love, the stubborn, queer kind, outlived them all. In the glove box, the obituary yellowed, a relic of what was. Ahead, proof of what endured.